And now, the main event, where tonight's entertainment is the review of entertainment. We like movies, we like television, and we like overthinking it. Introducing the podcast of critics.
Hello and welcome to the podcast of critics. That's our punny title for this show. I am one of your hosts, Garrett, joined by
Ashley.
Welcome. And this is a show. This is a podcast that we've been meaning to do for a very long time. We're doing it.
We're finally fucking doing it.
We're hearing it. Maybe this is the one we actually publish.
I don't know, man.
So the premise of this show, Ashley and I, we're very good friends. We go back to high school.
First day of freshman year, buddy.
Yeah, I did not care for you.
I thought you were weird.
I actively avoided your friendship for probably that first year. But eventually, you grew on me. But we studied film there, technically. We were in like a film. It was a career-focused academy high school, so you had your nurses. You had your cops.
Why'd you say it like that?
You had your real careers, you know,
yeah.
And then you had us who were just
that's true.
Film nerds.
That's true. You had your essential workers.
Yes. yeah. The people who actually have careers now. And you had us who we just studied movies and shit, and we made stupid short films.
We didn't change.
Right. I do have a film major. I did keep it going through college, and it's benefited me not at all. So that's why we're here doing this podcast, is so I could squeeze something out of it. But other than that, we just like movies. We just like TV.
Yeah, we really like movies.
Like
TV.
Anybody else. So we're doing a show. There's obviously 100 other movie, TV review type podcasts out there. So we appreciate you finding this one, and we hope you continue to find it as we discover it ourselves in this journey.
Come with us.
Come with us. Figure out what the hell this thing is going to be.
We don't know.
Nope. But the structure of the show is that in order to differentiate ourselves a little bit, we're going to be doing these episodes as like series, whether that is actual series of movies, like these first 3 episodes we're doing, as you can tell by the title, are going to be the Ocean's 11 movies, based on your suggestion, Ashley.
Yeah.
Good place to start, and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But we'll also do
just to be clarifying, it is the first 3. It's not the Sandy B remake.
And we haven't really talked about this.
The original one.
The original like 1960s one that nobody gives a shit about.
No one's even seen.
No. And we might later. But this is a good example of my plan is anyways to do also like thematic series. So not just like, we'll cover Star Wars at some point. Sure. We'll cover Lord of the Rings, but I also want to do thematic groupings such as the old Ocean's 11, which I think that would be a good series to do of like original movies that the remakes have completely displaced.
Yeah.
Like, this might kind of show our age a little bit in the sense that this is the more iconic one, but like Freaky Friday.
Oh, for sure.
Parent Trap. Like, you know, like I've
Lindsay Lohan.
You're right. Like I've never seen the originals.
Yeah.
So like that might be an interesting thematic series to cover. So we'll be doing things like that down the road, little thematic groupings, disaster movies, 90s rom-coms, whatever.
Don't give it all away at the front though.
Right. But that's the idea of the show. So you're locked in for a couple episodes of kind of the same kind of movies, basically. So with that being said, that's the idea of the show. That's the idea of us. Let's get into it. We just watched this a few seconds ago, or a few minutes ago. We just finished watching the first of 2001's Ocean's 11. And Ashley, you've watched this how many times?
At least once annually since it came out.
So that for those keeping score of how time works, that's... What are we, 23? How many years? It was 2001. We're recording this in 2024.
Yeah, so 23 years.
23 years.
I've definitely seen it more than that. It is definitely one of my favorites. And I really can't pick out of the original, the Clooney trilogy.
Sure.
I cannot pick my favorite out of the 3. I tend to watch all 3 equally. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in succession, but
I think the first one I saw was 13, which obviously, like, without the context of the other two,
you don't have any sort of
yeah.
background.
But this is a thing that's interesting to me is that I don't feel there's that many like emotional stakes in these movies.
There is actually.
Yeah.
If you want to invest, you will get a return on investment.
There's more than I thought there was. As I came in to watch this one, that was one of the critiques as a
Critic?
As a critic. That's the name of the show. But yeah, as one of the critiques I came in kind of expecting to have with this movie is that I didn't expect to have emotional stakes. As I was like, they're in it for the money.
No, bro.
There's a bit of a love story.
We're in it. There's two love stories. There's the love story, your conventional Danny and Tess,
yeah.
and then there's the second, arguably greater love story.
Is it Brad Pitt and the other? Who is it in the second one?
I set you up nicely.
Is it Penelope Cruz?
No. It's Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Those two cross in my head a lot.
What?
Anyways, I don't know.
That's not who it is either. It's Brad Pitt and George Clooney.
Oh, I thought
that bromance, my guy.
I thought you were gonna say Brad Pitt and food.
Ooh,
because that's one of the funniest
honorable
things.
Honorable mention.
It's a big trivia point for this movie, and I need to get the IMDb trivia the list pulled up. But he's always eating in these movies. It's a big joke people always talk about. He is constantly just snacking.
Yeah, and I think it's meant to be sort of like a replacement smoker's tick.
Interesting.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I can say that is because it's very akin to the way that Han in Fast and Furious.
I thought you were going to say Star Wars. I was like, I don't remember Han having a problem.
No, Han in Fast and Furious is constantly eating chips or something.
I've never seen a single Fast and Furious.
Are you dead ass right now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to come back to that later.
Sure.
But let's talk about, star-studded cast.
Great cast. Not as star-studded as I don't know.
Okay, so it wasn't star-studded at the time, but a lot of these are huge players now.
Sure, they've gone on to it.
But they're also 90s folks, if that makes sense. If that 90s classic folks.
They're recognizable. Like Bernie Mac, obviously
because the Bernie Mac show was the Bernie Mac show I think was wrapped or like still kind of going. I'm not sure. But you knew him from that.
Right.
You kind of knew Clooney, but you didn't for real.
He had a good career going at that. He had ER. He was on a lot of stuff.
Did he have Oh Brother Where Art Thou yet? Or was this the same
year?
I
think it was a year after. I believe Oh Brother Where Art Thou was 2000.
Okay. And then
which blows my mind. It feels more recent.
100%.
But this movie feels very recent.
We got Brad Pitt, which of course.
This was his big. This was like in the middle of his where he was taken off. Yeah, this was like post Seven, post Fight Club.
Oh yeah.
So this is his like heyday.
He's probably still with Jennifer Aniston at this point because Mr. and Mrs. Smith doesn't happen until 2003, I think.
Maybe even later.
It might be 2005.
I could be wrong, but yeah, no.
And then, he is with Jennifer Aniston. This might not be looking it up immediately.
That's how you track the timeline, yeah.
2005 is when that happened.
Okay, I was going to say, I feel like it was more 2005, 2006.
And then you've got Elliot Gould.
Right, who he's been around forever.
100%. And then you've got, like, I know him from Friends as Monica and Ross's dad.
Right. He's got a really interesting movie that I've wanted to see called Capricorn 1, I believe, that was made in the 70s. It stars O.J. Simpson,
R.I.P.
who recently died.
Let's date ourselves.
And a couple other people. Right. But it's a really interesting like conspiracy thriller where like they stage a Mars landing, and Elliot Gould plays like the reporter who like finds out about it and stuff.
Oh.
So that's one that I want to see it. I have not seen it, but I love that premise. It sounds very interesting.
I just like his personality that continues to come in the few things that I've seen him in. It seems to come through that he is just this boisterous cigar smoking dude.
Yeah, no, he's an instant character in this movie.
Yeah.
Let's start at the beginning of this movie because It starts, it does not stop.
No.
You put this on, not this week, but the week prior, we were meeting up to go over some stuff. And you started playing the movie just to see if you could pull it up, basically, if the computer was working and all that jazz. And we got like 10 minutes in. It was like, do we just sit here and watch the whole thing?
Right. There was a moment where we both looked at each other and were like, all right,
we got to pause it. We have
to stop. We have to stop.
Well, you don't want to.
But you don't want to. You're sucked in from the jump. So it's a tribute to Clooney. It's a tribute to the whole cast. It's also a tribute to Spielberg.
Soderbergh.
My bad.
I think. Soderbergh?
Soderbergh.
I'm getting him. There's the guy who directed Men in Black too, who's like Barry.
We really should have these notes better, but it's okay.
Soderbergh.
So it's a tribute to him because you have.
Right.
It's just like things are happening all the time.
Yeah.
Click. And it's really cool because you instantly you're sucked in, but not only are you sucked in, you fall in love.
Yeah.
Because so I wrote a few things down, of course.
Sure.
Because I take copious notes on everything. And it's you open with the interview scene of him being released from prison.
Right.
And it's asking, hey, he was like, well, I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, whatever.
Instantly charismatic.
Right. And he's he's dodging these questions left and right for real.
Yeah.
He's not really answering them. And then you get to, so why did you get caught this time? You've been alleged as the perpetrator of several crimes before now. This is not the first time that you were in a problem. This is the only time that you've been caught. Why did that happen, basically? And he goes, well, my wife left me, and that sort of put me in a state. And you're like, so do you foresee yourself being in that state again? And he's like, well, she's already left me once. I don't think she'll do it again for kicks.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, that's a good line.
Again, too, and the other thing at the start of this that ties into that I was not kind of expected, and I don't think it's like the best love story ever or anything.
Right.
I still think it's very surface level, but that's not, strictly speaking, a bad thing.
But it's not about the love story. Like, I don't watch this.
The thing, right. Well, it's I always go back to Rocky, which is a weird comparison to say.
Oh, okay.
But like that.
Where are we going?
That movie is a love story. Like, it tricks you into thinking it's a sports movie. It's a love story by the end of it. I love Rocky. Similarly, this movie.
I follow.
Right. But this one starts with, like he says, he's just like, my wife left me. That fucked me up. That, threw me off my game.
Yeah.
And then he's coming out of the prison, and there's a great shot of him where he gets his stuff back. And his wedding ring's in there, and he's kind of like, oh, what do I do with this? He doesn't. He's kind of
he fiddles with it a little bit.
He fiddles with He's just like, shoot, this is why I'm out. You realize kind of I'm realizing now, kind of rewatching it and kind of knowing where it all goes, that it's set up very early. She's the reason for this heist.
She's 100% the reason for this heist.
Right. I mean, from that first line, from that, do you expect to be in that state again? Do you what got you here? And it's his wife. And so in that sense, for his arc anyway, it is set up to be a love story.
You know what? Yeah, it is. It is for him.
Now, for everybody else, no. And even for the audience,
no,
it's the thrill of the ride for the audience. And that's what I'm saying, is that the
But is it for the love of the game as well?
Certainly. There's certainly like an addictive personality kind of trait that he has.
All of them.
Right. But for him primarily, it does. The movie at least kind of, again, it's very surface level. And if I have like any big critique, that is still kind of it. Now, it's better than I remember it being, because there is that moment with the ring. There is those lines. There is the dialogue he has with Julia Roberts that is still very emotionally charged. I do buy it. I buy the history there. Their chemistry is great, even though I think their lines is limited, and it kind of leaves a lot to your imagination. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with not knowing the full context.
Well, so there is an element of a nod to, for me, there's I just want to give a nod to all three, plot, production, and performance, because given that this is a regular rewatch for me, There's
Right.
always something new to sort of like
Notice and stuff.
to notice or to like click back or like because there's so many little details that are hidden or not really hidden even, but like spiced in there,
Right.
seasoning.
Yeah.
And like it's all over the place. It's all over the place. And even as we were watching today, I found new stuff that I had not seen, noticed, really clocked
Right. That's what I
before.
mean. Is like I really didn't remember the emotional arc of it all that well. I remember the fun parts. I remember the heist bits. I remember like when when I'm coming up on it in the movie, I'm like, oh right, they do that. Oh my gosh, cool. I didn't remember like the little scene he has with Julia Roberts.
Yeah, no,
That doesn't stay in my mind as much. And yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think that's the primary thing the movie's interested in doing.
No.
And I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think it plays with it. It literally just needed that one scene to kind of like deliver on it.
Right.
And it was like, that's really all we need to do. That's enough. That gets the message across that like for him anyway, it's a love story. He's winning her back.
Well, because you also can't build it up too much, because if you build it up too much the whole way, it gives away the fact that she's absolutely going home with him at the end of the night.
Right. Yeah, it's a happy ending.
Right, but you don't know that if you're watching this for the first time.
Oh, well, I'll say this, right.
It is uncertain the whole time until the very end.
This is true. Julia Roberts does a good job. She's like 2-3 scenes in this movie. Mm-hmm. But you're right. She does do a good job of selling that like does not want anything to do with this. Mm-hmm. Like she was heartbroken last time. Whatever it is that happened left her devastated. So like you're right that it does not seem like a surefire reunion.
Yeah. Well, and then you're questioning the two heists, and we'll get to it, but well, I guess we can get to it right now.
Well, I'll say this too, just speaking on the idea that she is the heist, that she is the real target, so to speak.
Yeah, but you don't find out that she is the heist until Rusty points it out.
That's what I'm saying, is that the movie itself is very subtle about building up to it.
Right.
Literally until that moment where she comes down the escalator and Matt Damon's like, who's that supposed to be? And Brad Pitt recognizes that like, oh, this is why the hell we're robbing 3 fucking casinos. This is why we're doing all this.
Yeah. 100%.
So I think that's good. I think it's good that the movie lulls you into the sense of fun with it, and then it does kind of twist it with like, oh, there is actually an emotional element to this 100%. That if you were paying attention, you would have seen coming.
Right.
But you were having too much fun to pay attention up until this point.
Right.
That it's just another fun twist.
Yeah. Speaking of the fun, so the cast itself is just fun. Mm-hmm. So you've got George Clooney, and then these are in the order of appearance. So Danny is George Clooney.
Right.
Frank/Ramon, although Ramon only lasts for 2 seconds, as Bernie Mac. Rusty, Brad Pitt, which hands down one of my favorite characters in this show.
This is we had talked. I told you
the
this before.
The poker room. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go through the poker room. So we've met George, or we've met Danny. Let me call him correctly.
Yeah.
We met Danny. He's getting out of prison. He goes and sees Frank. Frank's set, and he immediately asks Frank. So there's immediately a code that they speak in when they're on the floor, on the casino floor, that Frank's in, or Ramon at the time.
Yeah. Just on that note too, the movie does not treat you as stupid.
No.
It expects you to keep up with the plan.
Yes.
Now there's a few moments where like for when we get to Linus, which I'm sure you'll get to in a second, but like where like they kind of slow-mo his pickpocket stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of
but you have to be introduced into his craft.
Sure, right.
And it's also, I think, to emphasize how slow he is in comparison to the rest of the group.
He's the rookie.
Everybody else is established, and
Right.
you got to go slow for homie because he's the baby. He's just
Right.
a baby.
My point, it's just a baby. My point is though that the movie does not dumb itself down. It might explain the premise
Yes.
of it, but it's also there's not really a scene where it's like, here's the plan.
It explains things without making you feel like you're in an expository essay.
Yes, and it explains them while they're happening.
Right.
It's like you'll have like them narrating, here's what we're going to do. And you see them doing it as it's being,
Yes.
it's so efficient
Yes. Yes.
and so smart.
Excellent.
Ugh.
Okay, so
Back to the introductions.
Danny and Frank, or Ramon at the time, immediately speak in code, and then go to wherein they establish a second location for them to meet so they can actually speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the first question, really, that Danny asks Frank is, have you seen him? And he goes, last I heard. And meanwhile, like, Frank is in Atlantic City in New Jersey, which is where Danny just got out of.
Mm.
Rusty's in California. Rusty's in Hollywood holding a poker game.
Yeah.
For Topher,
teaching a bunch of teen idols of the time.
Josh Jackson, Holly Marie Combs, Barry Watson, Shane West. Out of those names, I know two.
Yeah, they were all...
Topher from That 70s Show.
Right.
And Shane West from A Walk to Remember. That's it.
Okay. I guess one of them's from Dawson's Creek is what I was reading. I can't remember what the other... But they were all like he says, teen beat people. Yeah.
Yes. Excellent line. All right, so we go with Rusty. All-time favorite scene. I want to reference it on a daily basis, and I kind of do as much as I can because I send y'all GIFs all the time.
Sure.
Is the glass up against the temple.
It was just so like put out by these guys.
Just like annoyed, tired.
It's the lead up of Topher's All Red.
Because you think it's a serious poker game at first, because he's like teaching, and
you see him coaching it, and then you realize like it is off or not. He's idiots.
Not coaching.
Yeah,
he's not coaching.
He's not getting through to these kids.
He's just giving them. He's really taking their money.
Right. Yeah.
But I did do a little calculation. So this is where Danny comes in and meets Rusty, sees what he's doing in that one game. Where Danny
he kind of like intentionally loses.
No, he wins.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you didn't catch it.
I didn't. No, again, I don't watch this movie 7 times a year.
So he has a full what is that
is
called?
It a straight?
No, a straight is a run.
Hands.
Full, and it's not a full. What the fuck?
Flush?
No.
It's not a flush because that requires like.
It's the full suite. I think it might be a full house actually. Anyhow,
he has 4 9s. He said 4 9s and an ace.
Yeah. So.
Because I know 4 of a kind. Is 4 of a kind a thing? That's not a hand, is it?
Yeah, 4 of a kind, which is poker hands ranked. What beats what?
Right. There you go.
Royal flush, straight flush, 4 of a kind. So
okay, there is a 4. Okay.
So with them playing the way that they were with all reds, nobody's getting a flush of nothing.
Yeah.
So 4 of a kind was absolutely the way to go. But he sits there and he ups the ante. I don't know if you caught this, but they were playing a cash only game.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing a cash only game, and Rusty caught on to the fact that Danny was going to win.
Okay.
There is like a little bit of an eye twitch.
There's
almost. There's a look.
Yeah, there's a lot of looks and there's a lot of great facial acting. That was one of my notes. Is that like everyone is doing their best at like just at facial acting. It's so good.
So he immediately goes in for 500. Somebody ups it to 1,000. So first round.
It gets up to 2,000 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, first round is 1,000. So that's 6 immediately on the table because only one person folded.
Yeah.
And then it goes up to 2. So double that. So you got $18,000 sitting on the table. Assuming that both Danny and Rusty put in their own money, they net $12,000 out the door in one fucking game.
Right.
I just wanted to see how much money we exchanges hands for this thing to happen. So when he greases the hand of the blueprint guy, not 5 seconds later, he got that cash from that poker game.
Interesting. That was one of the things I always wondered. I was like, how'd they get the blueprints from this just random?
You got to grease the hand of the security guard,
right?
For sure.
You assume he has some kind of connection.
So you give him a fat stack, probably an easy $1,000.
That's like untraceable and stuff.
Absolutely untraceable,
Right.
And then dude's your best friend for whenever you need it, because it seems as though they have a relationship with this person before.
Yeah, they seem familiar.
So, and then you get the the iconic scene of, was that too rehearsed? You've been practicing, haven't you?
Right, yeah. Well, right, again, and that ties into Danny's even kind of duping the audience in a sense anyway, that like, oh, we're just in it for the money. We're in it for again, the love of the game, the love of the heist and of this business. And he sells that to Rusty. Rusty pretty much sees through it, but is like, fuck it, money's money. Sure, I'll buy what you're selling.
So,
but he doesn't entirely. He's still a little sus about it. Here's why I say it. Let me go on a little diatribe, because here's why I say it's for the love of the game. You have Ruben that they go and sell immediately afterwards to get the money for this. Okay, number one. Who, again, great character introduction.
They con Ruben. Ruben knows he's being conned too, and he's more than happy to do it because he's being conned so that he can get revenge.
Right.
Because when you see Danny sitting at the bar with Frank, he's reading
there's the shot of
paper.
the paper that shows that Ruben's hotel is going to get
demolished in favor of Terry Benedict's stupid ass shit.
And they know that before they even go to see Ruben.
Right.
And lull him into it. Yeah.
Well, but then you see the perfect execution of this, like, devil may care. Both of them, devil may care. They're 100% in before they walk in the door, though. Mm-hmm. They know Ruben's going to fold. They're just playing it.
Yeah. Well, classic hustle. It's like, you're right. We're stupid. We're in over our heads.
And then getting everybody else is sort of a hustle, too. Not really the twins, because the twins are fucking bored in Utah.
Right.
Virgil and Turk, which Scott Conn in Hawaii Five-0 plays basically the same character.
Okay.
Where he's just argumentative.
Yeah.
So I'm convinced Scott Conn is just argumentative for fun. Mm. Livingston is sick of working with the FBI because he's
that's always been an interesting like minor point to me. I was like, he has law enforcement connection. What is he doing with these criminals? You know what I mean? Like he's really riding a fine line there, I guess.
I like to think that he was just a criminal that was recruited the way that you recruit a hacker.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Basher, who one has a botched robbery that we presume Danny and Rusty botched for him.
You think so? You think they like knew he was going to hit it or something?
Well, because they said we may have a scheduling issue, and then all of a sudden there's no scheduling issue.
That's a great scene too, where Brad Pitt just immediately gets into character as like an FBI cop, dude.
Good Lord.
And gets him. And I as a kid,
ATF agent.
Right? Yeah. What does he say? He's like, go find
Griggs.
Who? Find him, will you? It's so good. He's so committed. Just immediate.
I love that. I don't know if Brad Pitt has. Let's look. I don't know if Brad Pitt has Southern ties or upbringing.
He does a pretty in Inglourious Bastards.
He sure the hell does.
Great, like Tennessee Mountain Man.
He went to University of Missouri and he was from Shawnee, Oklahoma. So he's got some.
Yeah, he's got like little Midwest blood in there. Yeah,
he a little country. But I love that he immediately slips into that whenever he's like trying to oversell that he's playing something.
Right. Yeah.
That's his comfort zone for me, and I love it. But then you see...
You got Don Cheadle.
So you get Don Cheadle.
Who was doing...
Excellent.
He's very... Now, this was an interesting bit of trivia for this one that I found, is that he is actually uncredited.
Yes.
In this first one.
Yes, I saw that too.
That he wanted to be like top billing along with Clooney, Pitt, and Damon, and they were like, you're a supporting character. And he was like, fuck, I'm not in the movie. Like,
right.
All right, sure. So I think...
Which really only hurt himself.
Yeah, it is a little silly. Apparently, he did get a higher billing in 12. We'll have to see that next.
Well, at least he holds out for it, I guess.
Next episode, yeah. But he was always my favorite.
You know what he does because he is a. All right.
He is a
I'll
big.
give it to him.
I remember him the most in 3 when he has like the Evil Knievel get up. So we'll get into that one. But he was always my favorite as a kid, probably because he was quote unquote British. Easily the second worst British accent in a movie since Dick Van Dyke. And Mary Poppins. It's so wonderfully over the top and stupid that it
leave it out.
We're in Barney Rubble. Trouble. It circles back around to being charming. Good to be working with proper villains again.
Yeah. Like no, and the way, so I was about to get to that quote. The way that he says that, he's clearly...
He has a history.
Fed up of like not working.
Oh, just a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. And I mean, he shows it in the vault. The first
you guys
vault.
had one job, yeah.
You Tulsas had one job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you get to Yen,
right?
Who Clooney does not. I really love that the bromance, one, they really never speak. Ooh, shit. They really never speak.
Like personally?
Full sentences.
Yeah.
So, bromance being Clooney and Pitt, if you're not following.
Yeah, Rusty and Danny.
So they never really speak full sentences. And number two, a lot of the time, Clooney is just talking at Rusty. And Rusty doesn't say a fucking word.
Right. It's so clever and subtle how you can like tell the history they share.
Yeah.
You know, just by the way they don't communicate.
Yes.
But they do in such a nonverbal sense.
Yes.
You know, in the chemistry, to have chemistry and not talk and
Yes.
not have like dialogue or have that very short, curt kind of dialogue that they're written with, that is probably comes down to a lot of improv too, I imagine. It's good.
It's really good.
They carry the whole thing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. So you see them go to the Amazing Jens show,
Right.
which was probably actually his like Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, because he was an actual acrobat.
Yeah.
That they pretty much find him.
His only acting credits are the Ocean's movies.
Yeah, they found him like they find him in the movie, or like they just saw him in a show and were like, "You should be in the movie."
Right.
But that's pretty much how the scene goes. Too.
Yes. And then, so I really love that he's like, you know, who else is on the list because he's not impressed. And all Rusty says is he is the list. And then he doesn't say another word.
Mm.
And then you see him flip in between the two poles.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we got a grease man. And he's like, we got a grease man. And then Saul, who we see.
Saul was my other favorite as a kid. I loved Saul.
He's a little chameleon, honestly. But you see Rusty go to the dog track. My favorite thing is that did he get religion? Ulcers. And then you see as soon as Rusty leaves, that man has ulcers again.
Yeah. He's going through it. And he's like, I'm too old for this. And he's like, one last job. Like, how much? And, you know.
You love it. You love it.
Right, yeah. You see him get, like, so invested in character later on. Like, he's as committed as anybody else.
Well, today I noticed for the first time that the thing that Rusty hands him is not. So I originally thought it was just Rusty's like betting, like
It was a plane ticket.
It was a plane ticket.
Yeah.
Also, we don't know the number that
the dog is or whatever.
No, we
that
don't
he was
know
betting on.
No, we don't know the number or like what the job is.
The amount.
Oh, I guess we know the job, but we don't know the number of the job. When he tells Saul, which we find out shortly thereafter.
It's like 160 million or something like that.
It's actually 150 million, which works out to 13,636,364 if you round up.
Per person. Wow.
So
in 2001, mind you, so with inflation, that's
26 million?
They're
Double
billionaires, yeah.
Double it? Triple it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Additionally, yeah, because this was before the 2008.
This was before everything collapsed, yeah.
Ooh, jeez. Anyways, so then you see, so we got Saul makes 10. Do you think we need one more? You think we need one more. And you just like...
All right, we'll get one more.
All right, we'll get one more. And you see like... Honestly, you see...
It's a whole dialogue.
Yeah.
It's a whole dialogue with no dialogue.
With no response from Rusty.
Yeah.
And also, even though he's not holding a drink to his temple, it's the
that
same vibes.
Yeah.
The same vibe. That man is tired.
Mm-hmm.
The whole movie.
You have to imagine that, like, well, Danny's been in prison for however long it was. I can't remember how long he's in there for, but like Rusty's
4 years.
4 years. So Rusty's had 4 years worth of other cons that he's been doing.
Right.
Presumably.
The best he came up with was the fucking poker game, apparently.
Right. Yeah, and that is interesting. That is kind of the implication is that he's fallen on hard times. If that is what he's at.
Well, because. And you find out
for
later.
For a con man, I mean.
Yeah. Well, you find out later, too. Rusty just has expensive tastes.
Yeah, no, he's wearing those little Armani-looking suits and stuff.
You know from the jump, from the way he walks around in his fucking...
He's hanging out with movie stars.
He's in white silk suits, you know.
He's buying food all the time. Never cooks.
And it's never a grocery bill. It's
just whatever happens to be at the stand or whatever. Yeah.
Right. The nearest food stand.
It's just snackage.
So you get to the house, which is Ruben's house because he's the one that's loaded.
Right. Well, first, they get the one more, which is
get
Matt
Matt
Damon,
Damon.
which we kind of talked about that before, where
Oh,
you
yes.
kind of set up his skill set as a pickpocket.
Right.
And there's what I liked about this too in my notes is that I like this movie's good now that I think about it, about kind of talking about like what Rusty's been up to in the meantime too. The movie's good about like implied lore because they talk about like Bobby Caldwell, his father.
You're Bobby Caldwell's kid, right?
Right. It's like, who's Bobby Caldwell? And it's like, it doesn't tell you, but you're like, well, he must be just a great con man like the rest of these. He
He's
must
like,
be
get in the goddamn house.
Right. But he's like, oh, who's, it doesn't, I think we get into it in 12 about his father and stuff.
Bobby Caldwell
There was a scene, I was reading
comes
this.
up in all 3 movies.
Right. He's like, he sounds like he's kind of like the predecessor to Danny.
Yes.
Is like kind of the mentor figure, presumably, for this whole kind of generation of thieves that are the 11.
Yes.
And I was reading somewhere that I can't remember who it was they cast. It was Peter Fonda, is what I was reading, is that Peter Fonda was in this one. I think he shot a scene in 11
that didn't make
that
it.
didn't make it, and they recast him. I can't remember who it is in 12, and we'll get to it when we get to it.
We'll get to it in 12.
But yeah, that would have been, because I like Peter Fonda. I think he would have done a good job.
So you meet the whole cast, you get to the house scene, and that's when the plan starts to unfold. And as he's talking about the plan,
and this is the most we get, going back to like how like the heist just kind of happens as it's explained. This is pretty much as bad as the exposition gets.
Yes.
And they still keep it pretty entertaining.
So in the cage that we can't get into,
past the vault we can't open.
200 feet down. So I took notes on this specifically.
Okay.
200 feet down, a 6-digit code for 3 different doors at least that change every hour on the hour or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or no, sorry, every day. And then an elevator that requires a fingerprint scanner and a vocal recognition, which we can't get, that Rusty is quick to say. The elevator shaft that has motion detectors. At this moment is when we figure out that Rusty can speak Chinese.
Right, yeah, there's that implication. Again, implied lore. There's just all this kind of like thing that like just...
Which, for foreshadowing, is really cool because we talk about when Linus is
when he's tailing Benedict.
Terry. Yeah. You get all these...
He's studying all these languages.
He's studying all these languages. He's fluent in all this. This dude is as smart as he is ruthless. Mm-hmm. But when you think about it, Rusty is also hella smart, at least when he's working with Danny. Mm-hmm. And hella ruthless.
Yeah, no, they like the end of this movie is not to like cut super far ahead, but it is brutal.
Yeah.
How they end up carrying this out, which I think leads well into 12. In like you do understand Benedict's rage a little bit.
Additionally, though, it kind of juxtaposes the difference between the 11 and Terry Benedict and why Terry Benedict is such a problem for the 11, because you were bringing this up a lot in the movies. Like, what is the beef? What is the beef?
Right, yeah. This is, again, going back to, like, I don't know why I keep saying implied lore, but that seems to be, like, just the term that fits. There seems to be this implication, because going back to the scene with Danny and Tess when he kind of interrupts her dinner, or intercepts it, rather, and he's kind of like, if you want to leave me, fine. If you don't want anything to do with me, fine. But just not with him. Mm-hmm. And she has a great line where she's like, "Spoken like a true ex-husband." Mm-hmm. Great sass from Tess. Great Tess sass.
You just love sass.
She's great. I love Julia Roberts.
You like them to have a little bite to them.
I love them. Oh, she has a big bite. That's also just
no. Don't go there. Don't go there. I know where you're going. No.
Just Julia Roberts' beautiful face.
She has a wonderful smile.
She's a fantastic smile. I love Pretty Woman, one of my favorite romantic comedy ever. But they have that scene where, again, it's Danny, from that scene anyway, what I take away is that he seems to have a specific personal history, or at least enmity, with Benedict.
I figured it out as we've been sitting here talking.
About, like, what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I have a theory. I don't know that I figured it out, but I have a theory that I have fleshed out in my head.
Okay.
So the 11...
Because Benedict doesn't seem to know who he is. Now, he knows who he is from Tess, but he doesn't personally know Danny.
Right.
It seems, anyway.
Right. So
But Danny does seem to personally know him.
Absolutely.
Is the thing.
Absolutely.
That is the conundrum to me.
Absolutely. All right, so here we go.
Sure.
So in the hustling of Reuben, he's like, if you're gonna rob Terry Benedict, you better goddamn know, because he's the kind of guy who will kill you and then go to work on you. And before he says that, though, he says something to the effect of, and I'm maybe misquoting a little bit, so bear with me. Basically, this used to be a civilized thing. You'd hit a guy, he'd whack you, and a story. So there is this sort of honor among thieves.
Sure.
In that you're welcome, honestly, to steal from me.
Yeah.
I am then allowed to whack you.
Yeah.
It is a 1-for-1 exchange.
Right. Well, and like Linus has the big thing later. He's like the last guy who tried to steal from him or whatever. Like he destroyed his tractor company. He put his family away.
His brothers.
Yeah. Like he goes after you and everybody you've ever talked to is kind of what is the implication is that Benedict's just tearing through not only you if you wrong him, but every known associate or family of you.
So I believe, to me, Danny's main beef with Benedict is that, we have a code. You will also abide by the code, and you don't get to live within your own rules. The honor among thieves, he's trying to be Captain Teague a little bit, if I'm going to call back to Pirates of the Caribbean.
Sure.
You can't hang the code.
Yeah.
You're going to get shot.
Right. He's trying to hold him accountable for being...
Right.
Does that imply that, like, Benedict was at some point himself like a thief or something like that, or
not so much that he was a thief, but it was the fact that
he's obviously not
as
like
a white
on the
collar
level.
businessman,
right?
The thing that he's doing to Reuben, you can't do that, and you think just because you have dirty ways of doing things that you are above the law. No one is above the law. We all have, regardless of how morally...
The thieves' law, the underground white-collar crime law.
Right. Even in our debauchery, there is still a code. There's a line we do not cross, and you are crossing it, and you are going to get hit as a result of that.
Right.
And so I think that's what it is. I think that's the main beef. I think that's why he's so concerned with Tess being specifically with Terry.
I'm sure that there are probably like associates.
Because also Terry, you don't ever see it, but it's kind of implied that Terry is very controlling.
Yeah.
Well, no, you see it.
You do. He's just like, he doesn't let Tess even like kiss him because like a camera could catch it, and then like his security would get onto the fact that he's affectionate, or you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just weird little quirks like that.
The kind of person who would, once it's secured, would beat his wife behind closed doors.
Sure, yeah. Something is so menacing about when he visits her in the gallery and she's like, "Do you like it about this painting?" And he's like, "I like that you like it." I can't place what it is, but that says everything about his character.
It's wanting the class whilst being the seedy.
Well, having no respect for it.
Yeah.
It's I like that it's a painting, but I don't like you. I just like that you're classy. I like that you're pretty.
Yeah.
It's the appearance.
That's what it is. Appearances are everything.
Yeah. And that is kind of how, and it comes back around towards the end
which is why the heists go over so well.
Yeah, well, it's like Rusty tells him, he's like, you can lose this however much money publicly or private, whatever, and it's the public humiliation. It's the humiliation of it.
100%.
It's the getting caught with your pants down of the whole thing that like it is the pure ego stab that does Benedict in the end. It's not about the money.
No.
It is about the appearance and stuff.
Yes.
Which
is how he loses Tess.
Yeah. Speaking of losing, we are 45 minutes in, so we will take a brief break before we lose more time. That wasn't as great a segue. It's the first episode. Go fuck yourself. But we'll be back to get into more of the plot, production, and performances of this lovely movie, Ocean's 11. BRB.
And we're
back. Hey, nailed it. And we're back with Ocean's 11. So you, Ashley, wanted to get into...
So the plan... So I kind of went into it a little bit before the break of the cage that we can't get into 200 feet below the ground level with the 6-digit code on at least 3 different doors, the fingerprint and vocal recognition in the elevator, the motion detectors in the elevator shaft, the 2 armed guards at the vault, and then the vault door itself. Plus, there's ground sensors in 100 yards in every direction of the vault. And it's supposed to be holding $150 million on fight night. So we get all that, right? But we already knew from Danny talking to Rusty and trying to sell Rusty on the con that the number was $150 million. We already knew that. And we also already kind of knew a little bit, the blueprint plans. Not fully explained like that, but to a certain degree. Now, when he's talking to Rusty about it, he's like, is it doable? Or, do you think it's doable? Or they're just trying to figure out if it's doable, I guess. Mm-hmm. He's like, at the very least, you need a dozen guys doing a combination of cons. He's a dozen guys doing a combination of cons.
And he throws out all of these, like, presumably these very Hollywood fun.
I feel like they're legit because of the way that they're just said, and we don't ever get into the definition of them.
I do want to say, you being like they're legit. I imagine you pulling up to a real life, you join a real life crew of thieves, of criminals, and you're like, all right, guys, are we gonna pull a couple of what's one of the ones they throw here?
A Jim Brown, a Miss Daisy, a couple of Jethros.
Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Leon Spinks and an Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah. You just start talking like Ocean's 11. They're like, we're just going to pull up and shoot the place. What are you saying?
It's a smash and grab.
It's a smash and grab, you idiot. Yeah. So I wanted to play a game where you guess, because I pulled it up earlier on the trivia, and I have it pulled up now, of what does all that mean? And I wanted to play a game of you guess what you think it means, and I'll tell you what they actually are.
So he said a Boski, a Jim Brown, a Miss Daisy, a couple of Jethros with a Leon Spinks, and definitely the biggest Ella Fitzgerald you've ever seen.
Right.
For sure the Miss Daisy is a driving con because it's driving Miss Daisy. So there's some sort of chauffeuring switcheroo, which I believe is actually what happened. But I don't know. So Ella Fitzgerald, I don't know who that is.
So famous jazz singer. She's very good. Oh God, I'm trying to remember. There was a song of hers recently.
I sound so uncultured then.
I was listening to recently of hers, and I cannot, something River or something like that. I
think I'm semi-familiar. I think I'm semi-familiar.
She's one of those that did a lot of standards. If you heard her, you'd know her type things. But 40s, 50s, certainly way before us, our cultured millennials. We only listen to pop music over here.
ABBA mostly, yes.
Yeah, right.
And One Direction.
Great.
We had the full gamut.
Right, yeah, the two genres.
So Ella Fitzgerald is a jazz singer. So in that case, you have some sort of show. Leon Spinks is who?
Leon, he was a boxer.
Fight night. And then, so some sort of, Leon Spinks is the, somebody's getting hit while other things are happening, which creates an alibi, which is Danny's alibi.
Okay.
Ella Fitzgerald, the jazz singer. Shit. How do you... No, because if it's the biggest Ella Fitzgerald ever, and he doesn't know about Tess yet, that can't be what it is. I was going to say that it was the show of Andy Garcia, or Benedict, singing like a canary that he wants his money over Tess.
Oh, interesting.
I was going to say that that's what that was, but I don't think that that's actually what that is. The show with the CCTV where they switcheroo the Bellagio vault because they have they have a duplicate vault where they have done the shots for that.
You are exactly right.
God Damn,
with
I'm good.
with the tape. It is, according to the
Let's
trivia,
go.
Ella Fitzgerald, the looped tape of the robbery that is played over Benedict's security system. This is a reference to apparently a 1970s commercial for Memorex,
What the hell is
in which
Memorex?
presumably like a memory drug, maybe, I don't know,
Ew.
in which a recording of Ella Fitzgerald's voice breaks a glass, and the question is posed to the viewer: is it live or is it Memorex? So it's because it was basically, I guess it was like the glass. I guess it was a glass commercial, and it was like, is Ella Fitzgerald actually singing, or is it like a recording
Oh.
type thing?
Ooh.
And that the glass would hold to like live sing or something, I guess, is the kind of the idea.
Okay. So all right.
So the loop.
Okay. So we got Leon Spinks.
So Leon Spinks, I'll tell you that one.
That was Clooney and Bruiser.
Not exactly. It was because Leon Spinks famously had like an upset victory against Muhammad Ali. So basically the idea is like an upset, a disruption of a boxing match. So that was kind of more so the power going out and kind of like and throwing everything into chaos.
So it's more literal than I thought.
Yeah, a little bit more literal in that one, yeah.
Okay. A couple of Jethros.
With Miss Daisy, you talked about Miss Daisy.
That was the van being driven around, and then the switcheroo with the SWAT van.
Yes. Hold on.
The misleading of
yes,
it.
the SWAT vehicle used as the getaway car.
Okay.
Sure. I also there's 2 trivia entries for this whole thing, and I saw another one that was like an older person financing the whole thing, Miss Daisy. So in that case, Miss Daisy is Reuben.
Oh.
So 2 interpretations for that one that are a little conflicting. I'm more inclined to the van.
Driving Miss Daisy, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Jim Brown. Who is Jim Brown?
Famous American football player. Hold on, I'm trying to find.
Jim Brown.
Oh, okay.
Jim Brown is just a football player. Known for what?
Jim Brown. Okay, so this one beats me. I
What
only got into football this past year.
Okay, that's true. But what was his position?
Okay, the confrontation. This refers to the confrontation between Frank and Linus, staged to distract Benedict so that Linus can lift the security codes to the vault.
Oh no, they meant Brown in the literal sense. They took it literally.
Yeah, the reliable athlete. So
it's
in a sense of a fight, I guess. It's like, I guess he was a fullback, so he did a lot of tackling and stuff, I presume.
Yeah. So okay. Boski. What is a Boski?
Okay.
Well, tell me what the definition of Boski is, not what the trivia definition is.
Okay, so Boski is, hold on, I'm pulling it back. So there's, Ivan Boski was a person.
Okay.
He was a big-time trader on Wall Street who got caught committing security frauds.
So to get into the server room for Livingston Dell to get in there, which would have been the how we got the loop for the CCTV, as well as the innocence of like taking Linus, and he like disappears off camera. Yada yada yada.
So no, this is Saul.
Oh, Saul.
Saul playing Mr. Zerga, who is about a wealthy bankroller who has insider information, like Ivan Boski, who was a wealthy dude who had like traded inside information and shit.
Don't like that. Okay, and the only thing left.
Yeah,
is,
again, some of these are way more literal than you. They're not as fun.
I'm thinking I'm through way more. Jethros.
The Jethros.
He said couple of Jethros, I think.
Yes. So this one I actually do have a little bit of familiarity with the reference here.
All right, so tell me who Jethro is, and then I'll try to figure it out.
Jethro is a character from the Beverly Hillbillies.
Nuh-uh.
So 2 Jethros.
Wait. So I have to refresh on exactly who that is.
So he's like the older brother, if I'm remembering my Beverly Hillbillies correctly. He's like the older brother.
I only remember Granny.
Who's like, I remember Granny, and I remember like the dad, the grandpa. He was an older dude. He looked like a grandpa, but he was the dad.
Yeah.
Like the oldest son, who's kind of like an idiot strongman.
Idiot strongman?
Yeah.
Do you mean that with your chest?
Sure.
A couple of Jethros, idiot strongman. So that would be Virgil and Turk.
Correct, yeah. The Malloy brothers, hillbilly gearhead types, is what it says here. Hired to take care of Miss Daisy, distraction purposes, and for general 2-man work.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because they did a lot of. So you see them as even though they're listed as minor characters,
I didn't realize
you
how much.
see more
yeah.
scene because those two, and it comes up later too in the other ones, but you see those two do a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah, I didn't remember. They've always been the most minor characters. They're like the least memorable. Like Basher's really memorable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Ruben's really. You kind of remember every other character. Even
Livingston.
I was gonna say Yen.
Yeah.
Is pretty. Like small part, but like hard to forget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those two. They are just doing the legwork most of the time. They're changing in disguises. They're playing. They're also very memorable, funny scenes.
Yes.
But yeah, no, big contributors. Those two Jethros.
I'm actually kind of happy that we know these now because I have
I
always
was
wanted
reading
to know.
too, just so you know, in case you ever do try to start a heist, they were made up for the screenplay.
Oh,
They are not real terms.
that's so sad.
Right.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So don't show up to the local street gang and be like, you guys need a Jethro. I know a couple Jethros that can help you out.
I know a couple Jethros, Ella Fitzgerald, and Miss Daisy.
I can do a Miss Daisy if you need me to. Yeah.
Woof. Okay, so actually playing off those cons, really, that leads kind of into where I wanted to go. So you have the whole plan with that.
But again, going back to just how the movie doesn't treat you like an idiot, it doesn't explain any of that.
No.
It's just that, again, that's just part of the fun.
It nicely doesn't do that because you immediately just know these are code words, and you know it from the way that they say it. Right.
It contributes to so much of like the chemistry and the history with Danny and Rusty. It's it informs that these guys are really experienced. It sets you in like the world in the setting, in the sense that like, oh, this is like a world where cool thieves do things. It just creates, it's a subtle bit of world building, I guess, that works really well.
So for Saul, he says he's changed at the very beginning when Rusty tries to recruit him. And Rusty...
He's like, did you find religion? No ulcers yet.
No. This is when he's actually talking to Saul.
Oh, okay.
Saul says, I've changed. I'm not in the game anymore. Rusty immediately says, guys like us, we don't change. We stay sharp or we get sloppy, but we don't change. I think that's a really big, it's a small moment, and if you don't pay attention, you miss it, but I think it's more so indicative of the fact that of the whole premise of the series, because you see, and it comes back up with Tess and Danny at the end,
where she's like, you're a thief. It's what you are.
You're a thief and a liar. But then also you see it more so in the way that like they can't seem to stop running cons.
Yeah, it's just a part of who they are.
Even when they're talking to each other, even when they're like just vibing or whatever. Specifically, even between Rusty and Danny.
Right.
They don't change.
Yeah. Particularly Rusty, I would say. You get the sense that he is, I think, fully, like Danny at least has Tess. Like I said, like he at least has that subplot and that character arc to go through. Rusty, at least for this movie, I know he gets
Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Jane's, yeah, he gets her in the second one, but I don't remember that at all. I don't remember. I have the least memory of 12.
That's still evidence that he doesn't change.
Yeah, because I know neither of them come back. We'll get into this with 12. Apparently, she and Julie Roberts hated each other. So
shit, really?
So that's why they don't come back for 13. Neither one of them read it. They were like, fuck this, I'm out. Maybe for the better, because 13's pretty good. But actually, now that I'm saying, no, this goes into another thought that I had before I showed up watching this, is that other than Tess, who, like, she has a bit of a character. She has that scene, but, she is still very tied to, like, she's just the third in a love triangle. You know what I mean? It's like Julie Roberts does a good job of selling like that whatever history she has with Danny, that chemistry's there, the awkwardness of her relationship with Benedict is there. That's all well and good. It's not the relationships are there. It's good, but that is still all she is. She's still just kind of those relationships in this one. And again, I don't remember how I know she plays a part. She is the 12 and 12. So we'll come back to it, presumably. But she's just the girlfriend in this one,
Yeah, but she's also the prize.
What, is that better? Is that
because
worse?
Tess does not say, quote, to quote Rusty, when it comes down to it and you have to make a choice, what are you going to choose?
Yeah.
Because Tess does not split 11 ways.
Yeah. Which is a bit of it's a funny line. It's a bit of, I don't know. But the response to that, I did write that down.
I won't have to
I won't be the one who has to make that choice.
decision.
Do you think he's talking about Benedict there? Or
He's
Tess?
talking about her.
Interesting.
You can stay with the shitty. Basically, this whole heist is also to shed light on the fact that Terry Benedict is a shitty human. If we continue with the theory that there is an honor code among thieves.
There's something he's out to get him for that he did prior.
Well, no. There is honor among thieves, and homie has no honor. If he's shining light on that, then
that's all that matters. Whether I get the girl or not, I've done my job by exposing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I believe that.
That is the ultimate goal.
Right.
And so, if still going off that theory, then Tess is the one who has to make that decision.
Okay.
It was always about Tess.
I wondered. See, when he said
making an informed decision.
Sure. When he said it, I thought maybe he was thinking the choice would be up to Benedict. Whether when he does come and like, I'll give you your money if you not give me Tess, but you let her go. If that was the choice that he was talking about.
No.
But I like that it's Tess more. I agree with you.
It gives her back her autonomy because it also highlights too that Danny thinks of her as a whole person, and this is evidence. Going back to your point of how like he's like, I like that you like the painting. He's like, I don't even like you.
Right.
Whereas as soon as Clooney sees her for the first time, he's talking about I think it was a Rembrandt.
He's talking about paintings.
He's talking about
art
with her.
Yeah.
And he's talking about
You're
her
right.
work. He's
You're
like,
right.
you did great with the Rembrandt, and it's Monet and Monet, and I can't. One of them had syphilis, and the other one,
It was a Vermeer. It wasn't Rembrandt.
Sorry.
I remember because I like Vermeer a lot. One of my favorite painters. Girl with the pearl earring, one of my favorite paintings. But you're right. Now that you say that, like he does that
he
scene.
sees her as a whole person as opposed to a doll on a shelf that
Yeah.
Benedict sees her as.
Right.
And so because of that, I also want to say that he fully believes that she has no autonomy when she's with Benedict, and that's why he's saying not him, because I will see him suck the life out of you.
It's the choice.
Yeah.
You're right. When talking of autonomy.
He's like, I'm giving you back. Not even I'm giving you back. I'm showing you that you always
have a choice.
You have a choice.
Yeah.
You've always had a choice.
And it's not necessarily me or him. It's just him or any alternative.
Honestly,
and you do see
please
her,
just don't go and give your power away. Please don't give your autonomy away.
Right. And you do see her make that choice. Again,
Absolutely.
a great bit of facial acting when she's like crossing the
The
casino
realization,
floor.
and then she starts doing the little run in the heels.
Yeah, because there's a moment there where she's like, it is the rom-com airport run, but you see her choose to make the rom-com airport run.
Right.
It's definitely, she's going through she's thinking about it. She chooses to leave Benedict.
She knew she was
makes that
leaving.
decision pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But there's a moment of thought before she does choose to return to Danny. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's fair. You're right. I think the movie does do enough work to give
highly
her...
feminist movie for that time period, by the way. That's a reach.
I don't
That's a reach.
know about highly feminist, but you are right. It's not nearly as like, oh, she's the prize to be won, as I think you do it. There is a deeper read of it that you can make, and but I don't necessarily know that it comes down to the script as much as it does come down to just the chemistry. I think a lot of this movie, in general, comes down to the chemistry of
Julia Roberts,
George Clooney, Brad
Ryan.
Pitt, literally anybody. Even Andy Garcia, he has a good menace to him in every thing. He's a good villain.
Yeah.
Really hateable.
Oh yeah.
Villain.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. She is more than just the girlfriend. That being said, I do wonder if it was made now, if there would be a bit of like issue and umbrage people would take that, like, why isn't there just like a girl on the team? Why, or even a couple of women? Because if there was only one girl on the team, it'd be like, well, you're just filling the quota of there being one woman on the team. And 12 doesn't really do that. It doesn't be like, oh, we should have a girl on here, so let's throw in Catherine Zeta-Jones. Let's throw in Julia Roberts. Let's make her part of it. It doesn't treat it that way, which I think is good. But it does make me think about it that like today, it would be a topic of discussion. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's why today's version is all women.
Right. Well, yeah, and we plan on doing a series later that's like female-centric reboots and remakes and stuff.
And technically, it's all, even though it's technically a remake, you can treat it as a continuation because
she's his sister or
his
something.
sister,
Right.
And the Watch comes back, Saul comes back, and Ruben comes back, and Matt Damon and Yen.
Do they all come back?
Yeah, there's quite a few from the original team that come back.
Interesting. So I didn't know that. I think it's hard not to watch this and be like, why isn't there a girl on the team? Not that it like necessarily needs one, but it's kind of like, why isn't Yin a woman? Why can't Basher be a woman? You know what I mean?
Basher would be fun as a woman.
Right. It's like any one of them really could have been, it's not a particularly gendered team by any stretch.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would face criticism for that nowadays. And I don't think it diminishes this that there aren't any women in there.
But also to speak to men's health.
We don't talk about it enough, right?
Men's emotional health. It's really nice to see just a pair of pals, or really more than just a pair of pals, a gang of guys. A frat, if you will.
A gang of guys. I like a gang of guys, yeah.
I almost said a gaggle of guys.
A gaggle of guys.
But it's usually a gaggle of gays in my friend groups, so let me...
A group of gays is a gaggle. A group of guys is a gang.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's really nice to see I think it really was more so of like a men friendship type thing, because you also don't get those in any like sort of pop culture scenarios. Y'all, you like to, or not y'all, but like it was portrayed very often that men are just lone wolves, all of them.
Right.
And the only reason why that they're friends with other people is because their wives are friends with other wives, and so they have to be friends with the husbands.
They congregate, yeah.
But it's a matter of convenience, not necessarily a matter of I want to be friends with this person.
Right.
And I think that's also, again, tying back to the bromance love story, like being the greatest love story in this. I think it really speaks to that, and it gets deeper as we go through the series, because I will touch on it. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to spoil it. But it gets deeper. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll get to it when we get to 13, but you're right. The setup for 13 specifically is very emotional.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But again, it's very subtle. There's no moment in this where they're just like, hey, you're my best friend. You know what I mean? And in that sense, I guess it is kind of this.
It is. No, there is. It's because...
but it's all through action is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's all through action. Sure. It's all through, again, that silent dialogue that Rusty and Danny have.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty representative of like
and
strong
even like the
male
mentorship,
friendships.
The older brother type, mentoring.
With Linus.
Linus.
His arc is very good, where it's, where he has this legacy that he has to live up to with his father.
Right.
Where like your father taught me everything I know.
Well, and it's clear that the rest of the cast is learning Chinese, or at least has learned Chinese in order to speak to Yen.
Yeah, even when they're just hanging around the computer watching whoever's next up, basically, you get the sense like these are pals.
Bros supporting bros.
These are guys, other than the twins.
Well, and even in that, they're supporting each other, I think, to a certain extent.
Well, true. Even their relationship is pretty accurate to siblings. It's just like we're just gonna shit on each other all the time.
Yeah.
But get through it. But eventually, we're gonna have each other's back when the chips are down.
Right.
So,
and you see that more, I think, in 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, it's 13, I think.
Yeah, 13's definitely maybe the most personal one of them.
Well, because you've had 2 movies prior to set up the relationships and see who naturally comes together as well.
Right.
Between the actors, between the characters, between the writing, all that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so going back into plot, production, performance, I'm really trying to stick to this. I really am.
Sure, yeah. Those are our 3.
We have no fucking structure.
We've talked about it a bit. We throw those words out, but those are kind of like the measurements by which we're judging these movies. Is our 3 Ps: our production, on a production sense, a performance sense, and a plot sense.
So plot, which basically drives the whole thing, because it's supposed to.
It's a very simple plot. It's steal the money.
Yeah,
which I think is good. I think because
we see it more. I see it more as the plan. So you see the plan. At first, it comes through in code. Then you get it spelled out at Ruben's house
in the scene, yeah.
And then you get it again when they re-go over it. except for the fact that you have Basher have a load of shit.
11th hour fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his 11. It was
No.
more so that there was a, what was it? There was some sort of power outage.
It was when they demolished the building, when they demolished Rubin's casino,
shit, yes.
set off, like it realized that like, oh, we can't sustain an electrical outage. We need to fix this. Or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
So they go and they fix it, and then they're like, oh, we can't use the original plan. So then they go on this little hijinky.
They have a 10-minute mini heist in the middle of the big heist.
To the California Institute of Science that we're conjecturing is close to Caltech.
Right. Does not a real institution, but as a stand-in. Yeah.
But from Las Vegas to this is the night before, right?
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah. This all happens the night before
I'm
the
a
actual
logistics
thing.
person in real life, so I have to fucking know. Like, I have to fucking know.
Right. So assuming it's Caltech.
I don't know where that accent came from.
So from Vegas to Caltech is how
4 fucking hours.
They
So
got-
basically, they go through the night. Half the team goes through the night to get this done. Mm-hmm. They probably, I assume, sleep through the day, maybe, because the next.
Yeah, they don't have to
Because the
start
night
at
before,
night. Really.
they
yeah.
go, and then they don't start to the fight. So I guess they had hours to sleep, approximately 24 hours.
Sure.
So, and you spend 8 of those, so you got 16 hours still left to figure out,
Right.
get ready, whatever. I'm only bringing this up now because it is something that we need to touch on in 12 and 13. Timing is everything.
Is time.
Is
There's
time.
a lot of like things that are happening within a span of time that doesn't track,
Well, what's
or it is very well
beautiful-
thought out.
Well, what's beautiful about the Ocean's movies plots is from the jump you assume it's thought out, the whole thing. And then there's usually an 11th hour thing
Right.
that
That they have to band-aid really quickly.
yes.
Yeah.
And then that timing becomes an issue. Kind of, but not really.
Yeah. Oh, is it one of those things like you only think about it later?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how do they pull the last minute fix it off, basically?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because you're like, oh shit. Because like in the moment you're invested and you're like, oh shit. Because you do get wrapped up in the fun of it, but you're also like a little stressed for them because you want them to pull this off. You see how shitty Terry is,
Yeah.
and so you're like, no, absolutely, you absolutely have to steal from him. That's the only way to go about this. Like you want the revenge to yourself.
Right.
And then you get you get to the 11th hour thing, and you're like, oh shit, how are we gonna handle that? And then not till the very end are you like, wait a minute, there was an 11th hour thing. How did we handle that? And so I'm checking the feasibility. As logistics, I just want to know the feasibility.
So presumably 8. Let's give them 9. 30 minutes. Let's say at getting in and out of there took 30 minutes. We'll say.
Absolutely,
Reality.
because we don't know.
I guess in real time in the movie, it looked like 6.
Yeah,
Probably,
Yeah.
But like, we'll give them an extra 30.
yeah.
So like 8 hours and 30 minutes.
Well, 30 minutes, especially with Linus.
That's what
falling
I'm
off the
saying.
Fucking roof.
Yeah, it's like there was damage control even within the mini heist. So, which they don't. I love that. I love they don't even explain. They just walk in and grab it and go. It's like we don't have time to spend on this. There's something
But it's
charming.
that sense of urgency. It's the sense of urgency. It brings you along for the ride.
Yeah.
You're in the home run stretch.
It almost makes me wonder. It's a weird little side quest. It almost makes me wonder. It feels like a writing room discussion where it's like, well, they're close to it and they haven't really faced any obstacles yet. They're about to do it, and there's been no bump in the road really.
Perhaps.
Like
Perhaps.
other than the emotional bump in the road that is kind of Tess, I guess. You know what I mean? But like that's not really pertinent to the heist itself.
Right.
And when I say Tess, I mean like Danny's emotional involvement
Yeah.
in it that takes him off of it basically.
Right.
But other than that, it's like they got everything set up, Saul's in place, the cameras are hooked up, everything's good to go. All we got to do is do it, and that's it. And but
So I don't know if you realized, because you did mention that it was kind of like mindfucky.
the end of the heist.
The end of the
way
heist.
the heist. I will say about that too.
A lot of the talking through it that Clooney does, like a lot, especially when Basher comes in, they are standing in the middle of the copy of the vault.
Right. Yeah.
So like if you now like in a rewatch, knowing that knowing what everything looks like, you watch them build in a warehouse the copy of the vault.
Right.
You watch them
Practice it. You see Yin practicing in it.
You see Yen practicing it because he comes out perfectly.
Yeah, he does the
so
flip.
you know how
He's
it's
like,
supposed
okay,
to go.
right.
But that also gives you a clear one. It gives you a clear picture of how it's supposed
Like
to go.
a preview of how it's supposed to go, and then the reality is a bit different.
But it also sets you up to where you're like, oh no, they got it, you're good. And then when you get to the little fuck up,
and then Basher comes in and be like, we got a problem.
well, not just that, of like the stones, the briefcase being set on top of Yen's cart,
Right.
and then he has to like catch it, and he has to catch it before it hits the thing.
Well, that's the thing, is now I'm wondering if the entire we got to go steal an electrical nuke plot almost solely exists to handicap Yin's hand, because that's how he gets his hand messed up.
Right.
And then so he's kind of playing at half strength, basically, in his part of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, is that the only reason they write? Yeah, I don't know. The whole electrical thing, and just having to like take a minute.
Well,
I like
no,
it. It's funny.
No, because they use a lot of things to tie it in. At the very beginning, when Basher's in his OG vault that he was trying to do,
Right.
and he was about to blow it up, and before he hit the button,
He needs something smart to do.
well, no, he says, "Hold on to your knickers,"
Yeah.
and then right before he pushes,
Just in case you forgot he's British.
yeah, yeah, but you watch him literally hold on to his knickers when he,
Oh, when he covers his thing in case it is going to be a radiation or whatever.
yeah,
yeah.
It's like,
That's what I'm saying.
You see the grimace.
Yeah.
So that it ties in that.
Mm-hmm.
It also ties in Yen's hand being handicapped. It also ties in what is else? There's something else that it does. It ties in Ruben having his casino or hotel demolished.
Right. Yeah, it does have kind of like creates some more direct consequence beyond just Ruben's pride and stuff. Sure. I don't know. To me, that the whole thing just plays as like, okay, they haven't really faced a significant obstacle yet. We need one.
I see where you're coming from because of
I
how
think
rushed it is.
the benefits outweigh like the weirdness, the suddenness of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I get it in the sense that like, well, Basher hasn't done anything really cool yet since he blew up that first vault. He needs like a moment. Mm-hmm. It gives him a moment. It gives Yen an obstacle to overcome.
Right.
It shakes up the situation. It makes the stakes a little more.
Well, and it
just
shows
ups the
how
stakes.
it shows how green Linus is.
Right. It gives Linus like
it shows the camaraderie to the point where he knows that he doesn't want to be in the fucking van with the twins because they're just going to argue the whole time.
Right. Yeah. It just, I think, and again, like you said, it ties in like Ruben's kind of the consequence of like Ruben's loss here a little bit.
Yeah.
And how that directly impacts their ability to do the job. I don't know. Like, there's no plot benefit to it. It just kind of stops everything and be like, okay, we need to do the same thing. It's all character stuff.
Yeah.
It all comes down to.
But it colors it nicely.
It's fine.
Yeah. Well, because also you need a little stress in this. I guess
you do
everything
need it.
You're saying.
No, that's the thing. Is I agree.
But as the viewer, you need a little stress.
Right. Yeah. You need a wrench thrown into the whole thing. Mm-hmm. I think it's a oddly large wrench is all, but I'm okay with it. It's one of those things where I'm like, I think it comes down to two that like that we don't know how they do it. But I think there's a charm. There's a backwards charm to it where I'm like, who cares? We know they're competent. They can pull it off.
Right.
I don't care that it's off screen. It's funnier with Linus in the van. It's funnier they have to go back and rescue him. It's all, the fact that does it make a whole lot of sense in the context of it? No. Does it benefit the characters in the end? Does it give them all a moment? Yeah. Does it up the stakes really quickly? Yes. Does it also make everything else come at stuff like they can't cut the wires in time.
Yeah.
Like the lights are about to come on. This isn't going to last them as long as the first plan would have, basically.
Yeah.
It's like we had to cut these things now. It snowballs into a bunch of other stakes that ultimately are good and raise the tension of it.
100%.
So in the end, I'm fine with it. But it's a weird thing. And it wouldn't also, we need that because how else would we get Barney Rubble? Trouble!
With shit all over him.
He needs that line. It's so important.
Well, because you also see him have like a little eureka moment while he's watching the
That's
TV.
what I'm saying.
Because he's like in love with the way that the hotel blows up too.
Yeah, the pyromaniac in him just loves blowing it up.
He's just like mesmerized and then, oh shit. And
It's
then
the
he,
fact that it's
runs.
happening behind him. Right, yeah. Like great character. Again, he's the dark horse favorite.
Yeah.
I think for both of us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, other than like the main two of Danny and Rusty.
Yeah.
Basher's it.
Basher's it.
With the worst accent ever, still manages
Honorable mention goes to Livingston Dell, performance-wise, because that man was sweating the whole movie. Number one.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, to, again, logistics. So, server rooms are notoriously cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes.
Oh, so he wouldn't be sweating a bunch.
Yeah, they get hot.
Because you don't want to overheat the
But
the
so
stuff.
you usually put an extra air conditioning unit, or you usually the server room usually has its own thermostat, depending on the time of the building or whatever. But basically, any room that's designated as a server room has its own sort of AC or
a separate
thermostat.
unit, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and so in theory, that room should have been no more than 68 degrees and probably more towards the 60-degree mark.
Uh-huh.
Yes, of course, the servers makes that a little bit warmer.
Heat. Yeah.
But generally speaking, it levels out to about 68. Why are you sweating?
Because you know what? Again, that's a character thing.
Yeah, 100%.
That's just we need to establish that he's nervous. He's the type of guy who will sweat in 60-degree weather because he's just that neurotic.
Well, and I mean, like, he's in a hotel room. Hotel rooms are also notoriously cold.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is wearing jackets, and this man is in a short sleeve T-shirt, fucking sweating.
Right. You do get the sense too. He easily could have sent in like one of the twins or something and just guided him on it through the thing.
Oh yeah.
But then now I'm justifying it to myself again. He wouldn't trust them to do that. He has to do it himself.
Well, because
he has the moment. He's like, don't touch my stuff.
Don't touch my stuff. I wouldn't grab your gun and wave it around. You don't see me grabbing your gun and waving it around.
Yeah. Man, there's so many
the callback to Radio Shack, R.I.P. Radio Shack.
Yeah,
I used
miss
to
Radio
love
Shack.
going in a Radio Shack.
They had the robot toy and like the dinosaur robot. You remember those?
Oh yeah.
Those were so cool.
The dog.
Yeah, the eye dog or whatever
T-Rex.
it's called. Mm-hmm. The toys were dope.
The callback to that, and anybody watching in the generation below us
wouldn't get it.
Would not know what the fuck Radio Shack even is.
Right. That being said, though, I don't think it's particularly dated as a movie. There's the line where Tess is like, "I don't have a cell phone." It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so for real.
But for the most part, like,
you could also interpret that as like she left her phone at home or whatever.
Not even that. I mean, yeah, it's of the time in small ways like that, like Radio Shack, like her not having a phone. Like them talking on walkie-talkies. Matt Damon mentions a pager at some point.
But like you still have like stores that talk on walkie-talkies and stuff, so that's not all that unfamiliar.
But it still feels very timeless.
Yeah.
Like it's not a particularly. It doesn't feel dated, even though it has those little moments.
Because even Rusty's outfits, for as
flary as they are, I call them flared.
They're still pretty timeless.
Yeah, no, Clooney always looks timeless, and he dude knows how to wear a suit. You know what I mean? The fashion isn't particularly 2000s. Also, they're all in a casino anyway, so they're all kind of dressed nice to begin with.
Well, but also casinos, as we know from Percy Jackson, is just like a time warp.
Right. Yeah. I've not seen or read Percy Jackson, but I know the scene you're talking about. I know the Lotus stuff.
Right now?
I'm one of those people who listen. We grew up in the era where it was like, you were writing fanfic about your favorite Greek god, and I was like, yeah, I'm over this.
I didn't write fanfic. I read all of them.
That's what I'm saying. It was out there. It was like we all were obsessed with mythology, and I'm like, okay. There was already a whole book series.
Well, we also had to learn it in school.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Everybody was just so emotionally invested in it. I was like, whatever. I appreciate it. I'm not anti-intellectual when it comes to mythology. I appreciate it, but as
somebody who's one of your favorite movies is Hercules.
I do love Hercules.
Be so fucking for real.
But it's so inaccurate. Different show. We'll get to it.
It is inaccurate, but it's fun.
Movie is very timeless.
Yes.
Is my point. Is that I think it's timeless.
Well, and so even though the transitions are dated a little bit,
not even like it's so stylistically like with the wipes.
But it's stylistically dated. I think is what I'm trying to get at. To where it's like
they don't do transitions in movies anymore.
Right.
Yeah, they don't do wipes or like
fade
outs. But
because it's so fast, because the whole movie is just kind of like get you, and the shots are so very novel and avant-garde.
Yeah, it's
like the production of it, the music is the music is timeless because you've got like Claire de Lune
and stuff. Oh, Claire de Lune, beautiful.
And then you've got you got jazz for sure, and then you've got a couple other like classic songs in there. I can't remember them at the moment.
It's like it's like an instrumental record you'd put on in the background at a party. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's something what you could put on at like a cocktail party.
Yeah.
But also like a casual kickback too.
Right. Yeah. It's classy. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of a movie and like it's doing exactly what it wants to do.
It's doing all the vibes. So you get like the establishing shots to set up.
All the split screens are so sad where you see like all the different
wipes.
parts of the heist.
Well, and then like the zoom into the balloons and then the zoom
dramatic
out.
zooms where it's like here's what you as the audience and as a member of the heist are actually paying attention to while all this noise is happening in the background, you know?
And so those transitions help to build up the reveals too at the very end.
Right. That was what I was going to say too. Speaking of the reveal, I think it's so clever that it switches the POV of the entire movie to Benedict at the very end of the heist. It completely puts you, it does not switch back to the vault. Until the reveal that like they were long gone by the time they're even talking to him,
Right.
And the whole switcheroozy. I'm sure there's a funny heist word for that for whatever the actual thing is. It's definitely not. It's not switcheroozy, but I think it's so smart that they decide like Benedict's the main character for the next 5 minutes. We're seeing
just for these 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're seeing, but it's also
because it is about him. It's about him losing. Because he's given the choice.
You finally see him.
Do you lose the money or do you lose the girl? He makes the choice to not lose the money, and he still loses both.
Well, in that scene too, just when he's talking to Rusty on the phone, when he thinks he's got him, when he's like, "Oh, sure."
I don't understand how he immediately went from talking to Rusty on the phone to talking to Rusty over the SWAT comms,
right?
And not realizing that's the same voice. Because, I mean, for real. If I'm being very honest, in my first several rewatches or my first several watches of Ocean's
you just didn't
11,
notice it.
I didn't
care.
notice.
Yeah.
I actually thought that the SWAT guy was Shane West coming back because I wanted him to be more of a character.
Is that the guy from one of the teen shows?
A Walk to Remember.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. They just throw him in at the end.
They didn't.
Right. No.
I was so sad.
No. That would be great. Like when they lift the face mask up and it's Topher.
That's what.
So you just brought all those guys back in for the last hurrah.
But like you have all that, but you have all these build-ups of like, okay, so Basher asks Clooney at the beginning of the planning part of the planning phase. He said, "Do you want broke, blind, or bedlam?" And he said, "All three." And you see it become all three after the lights come back on. You see that in the boxing ring. You see that. And
broke, blind, and like the lights are out. All the money is being stolen by the patrons. Bedlam, everyone's fighting, and it's crazy. Yeah.
The whole city just kind of erupts. The establishing shots of Vegas,
which are also beautiful. Vegas looks beautiful.
I want to go. I want to go from just this movie alone. But those establishing shots, and then the end shot of them in front of the Bellagio fountain, which is actually a real thing in Vegas.
The fountain?
Yeah.
I'm aware. It's a monument.
Just for a fun fact.
Yeah.
But for them standing in front of that fountain and all of them sort of serious and not really like fully elated that they have pulled this off.
Right.
For all of that.
Just in awe, just in shock of it, yeah.
It makes them it tells you if they've conquered Vegas. Without telling you that they've conquered Vegas.
Again, it's
such a victory run, but such a subtle victory run.
It's so smart. The movie does a lot of that, of telling you without telling you. It's a very good show and not tell movie. Now that I think about it,
and now I want to know: is that Soderbergh? Is that how you say it?
Soderbergh, yeah.
Soderbergh, or is that the original writer of the screenplay, Ted Griffin, or is that just a combination of all these really great actors coming together into a room?
It's a perfect storm.
Or is it all of the above?
Yeah, no. It's one of those where like every part of it, and this gets into the production part of it and the performance part of it, is every part of it is firing on all cylinders. The direction is really clean and unique. Mm-hmm. The score again is really fun and bouncy. The script, even though like you get the sense that like they're kind of shooting the shit on improv and stuff, there's still a lot of good lines. Like, does he make you laugh? No, but he doesn't make me cry. There's so many good little exchanges like that are actually great writing moments.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised too, because a lot of the things you kind of think are improv when you're watching something, like that is actually a writer behind that. It's just the actors, going back to performance, are just that good. They sell it. And and in that scene with the fountain, that is the culmination of the acting, where like there's no words spoken. You can tell how every single one of those characters feels about what they've just pulled off.
And it's also to add to that moment, it's the depth of every character kind of being explored, because you see it in all these little moments. You see it in the versatility of the twins. For Frank, you see it in the buying of the van scene where he nearly breaks that man's hand.
Yeah.
And has a normal ass conversation about moisturizing the whole time.
Right.
You see it for Ruben in his, having to play this double role of like, I don't know what's going on.
During the fight. Yeah, there was a
But I funded the whole thing.
One of the funniest background. I don't know if you've watched it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've caught it.
No, actually, I didn't catch it till today.
Really, there's a great. Go watch the movie, listener. There's a great moment when like the lights come back on during the fight and stuff, and you see like Ruben sitting right behind Benedict and Tess, and he does this fantastic, exaggerated, "What's going on?" Like it's so he could not be more like guilty looking, and
if you know that he's guilty,
right? Otherwise, he is such a large ham anyway that like you get the sense that he is always playing everything up at any time.
Yes.
Such a character. It almost makes me wish that he and Benedict shared a proper scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
like they're on screen at the same time during like the demolition and stuff, and during that the
but
scene.
You get no dialogue.
Right. Yeah. You get, I don't know. Because we know, at least we don't know when it comes to Danny. You kind of talked about like the honor among thieves, like that's his motive for going after Benedict specifically. I still think there's some other personal story going on there, and I don't have any theories about it. But with Ruben, we know there's a personal history there.
Right.
So a shame we don't get that as much.
100%. So you see it with Ruben there, to go through the whole list. Livingston, you see it in the way that he is the most nervous character, but actually he's the one calling the shots the whole time.
Right, yeah.
He's
directing the whole thing.
He's
the show.
He's the director.
Yeah.
Basher going from fun munitions guy to full, what is the word? Geek? Nerd?
Sure. Bomb enthusiast.
Scientist almost?
Yeah.
Honestly, because he goes, like he literally teaches you about EMPs in that moment.
Right.
Yen.
Talking about his, like, where the fuck you been?
No. That was the easy one. I wasn't going for easy, though.
Okay.
Yen more so of someone who it's very clear that he's been flexible his whole life, and that's very easy. And then having to kind of overcome the hand thing, even though that was a manufactured thing that we've already discussed.
Right.
Saul, you see it in the little moments, specifically in the suit fitting
Right. We talked
scene.
about this as we were watching it. I like Saul a lot because I think when it comes to like D&D games and stuff, my first character I ever played was a rogue. Who had a bunch of disguises. Like he was a master of disguise. He wasn't like a stabby rogue. That wasn't my concept for it. He was more of a con man rogue. Kind of a Danny Ocean, Rusty type.
Wait,
but
so
with a bit
for
of
me, Blades, when we played Blades,
right.
Rusty was my mastermind spider type person.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Apologies to the listeners. We will talk tabletop games.
I'm not apologizing for it.
Wow, that's big of you. Anyway,
it's my show.
We'll reference.
I do what I want.
We'll get into it. Anyway, but my first character ever was a rogue, and he had a lot of disguise and stuff. So I love a good master of disguise. And so yeah, but I talked about his as we were watching. And I'm like, this is a great mini arc he goes through in the span of like a minute, where he's getting dressed. And he kind of seems a little nervous. He's already been kind of roped into it, almost not quite against his will.
The ulcers are ulcering.
The ulcers are ulcering. Rusty's brought him in, and he's not quite sure about it. But he goes through this, and Danny can tell he's kind of nervous. He's like, "You sure you're up to this, man?" And he's like, "Don't you ever ask me that again." You're like, "Okay, he's locked in."
You ever ask me that again, Daniel? I will. That will be the last day you breathe, or something.
So yeah, something very, and he is locked in till the end. And I like the fake out too. I always liked this as a kid, where you think he really is about to screw the whole thing up,
Yeah,
when
because he
he's
got
in the-
nervous.
Because he got nervous. He's sweating, and that's just good makeup and stuff, doing a great job making him look like he's in real danger there. And you're like, holy God, he's about to screw the whole. It's part of it.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's part of it. And Brad Pitt comes in as the doctor.
Lord.
We've lost him. It's
Yeah.
just this soap opera acting.
Yeah, Brad Pitt goes from acting like he cares about poker to genuinely acting.
I think that's what makes him very funny in this movie is the fact that like for most of the movie he's very nonchalant. He's very reserved, and that's his.
Because the only time you see him pissed is the one time he finds out about Tess.
Right.
That's it. Everything else, cool as a cucumber.
Very understated. So when he does these
And
acting,
even being pissed about Tess, not very like pissed for real.
yeah. So when he does do these acting moments where he's like he's arresting Basher, and he's medicating Saul. Yeah, it's very funny how over the top he all of a sudden becomes. Yeah.
Yes.
So great acting within acting from Pitt there.
And then, yeah, so that would, and then to bring it full
So that's
circle,
Saul's moment. That's Saul's
moment, Rusty's moment, and then Linus, completely unprepared, completely the fuck up, or not necessarily the fuck up, but the naive.
To the rookie.
The naive
he's
rookie,
the rookie.
the whole time until you get to the batteries.
Oh yeah, he echoes what Danny says to him, where he's like, "One wrong move can
He's
blow the
like-
whole thing," or something like that.
Where is it? Hold on, I think I wrote it down. Shit, I didn't.
It's something like that. It's something like, you gotta stay focused in this game, or you'll blow the whole thing.
Yes. One wrong move, and then it's forgot the batteries, and then he pulls out a whole pack of batteries out of his pocket.
You see, he's prepared. He's more prepared than
Even
anyone
Danny.
gave him credit for. Yeah.
Yeah, except for in the elevator where he's scared to hell.
Yeah.
But that was a fun jump scare. It was a fun jump scare.
It was a bit of a jump scare.
Yes.
If you put a music sting on that, a proper horror movie sting, it would be a good jump scare.
Well, but then even then, it's just like the master,
Right. Yeah.
fucking
No.
with the
They all
students.
have an arc. They all have a good arc. They all have a good moment that leads into
But
it.
that makes the Claire de Lune fountain scene, so much more deep, so much more satisfying,
Yeah.
so much more intriguing, because also originally here is the real kicker. Originally the number was 150 million, right? Which means that it was 13.6 approximately
person.
million a piece.
Yeah.
The actual closing number was 163 million.
And Danny doesn't presumably get one, or he can't access it now anyway.
Well,
Maybe Rusty's holding on to it for him.
3 to 6 months later.
Yeah.
We never actually
It's in the
know.
wind. Yeah.
Split evenly, 14.8 million per person.
Which is more than they've ever seen. Yeah, they're fat. They're like they can't even fathom the what they've just done.
Oh, and to tie it fully full circle, when Ruben's talking about the 3 honorable mentions or the 3 closest folks to robbing a casino,
Yeah, great little montage.
they barely get $1, if that, of the people that robbed casino of the 3, and they just walked out with 14.8 million apiece.
They've done the impossible. Yeah,
I mean, it's so satisfying. It's so crazy.
well, and 2, it wouldn't be satisfying if Benedict was likable. Is the thing, and this
Would
is
it?
well, this is the interesting thing. As I was reading about the original movie, which a bit of context on that one, like the 60s one, which stars Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, which I don't know if you're familiar with the Rat Pack. If I say that, what that means.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
All these old Hollywood bros.
Yeah.
And so and that movie was kind of similar to this one, kind of an excuse for them to all just hang out in Vegas.
Yeah.
And perform, like they would perform at night. And then
Right.
like they'd have to get up and like, damn it, now we got to wake up and film this stupid movie. So like they were not there to do it. And so that's why the movie is not very well regarded.
I see.
And this one has kind of displaced it. Is they were all kind of just phoning it in because they just wanted to hang out. Apocryphally how I understand it.
Well, that's just what we're doing right now. Is we're all just wanting to.
Yeah,
hang out.
we're just rat backing it up. But the original movie was made at the time during like the Hays Code, which was like the morality stuff. You had to have like the bad guys could not win in movies at this
Oh.
time. It was the same stuff where like you couldn't put this in comic books. You couldn't put gays in comic books or whatever, all this kind of stuff.
What the fuck?
That there's a whole censorship. It was a time of censorship, basically.
Oh,
is when
for
the
the
original
Christians.
was made. Yeah, with the communists, all that good stuff.
Oh.
Everything.
A little deeper.
Just that whole
For
time.
the Republicans.
Yes, yeah. A good thing they're not around anymore. But anyway, but it was at that time. So
We're going to have to edit that out.
who cares? No, but they were thieves. In the movie, it's still the same premise as they're going to hit a big casino, whatever. I think on New Year's is the idea in that one. So they're all thieves. So I think the way it ends, if I was reading and remembering correctly, is that they don't get the money at the end. The money all goes up in flames somehow or another, but they still get off. They still end up alive at the end, basically.
Oh, I guess so. There's no good guys in the original?
They're supposed to be likable, but again, it's just a bunch of old Hollywood bros hanging out. It's not as deep. I don't think you're going to get the bromance you want like you do in this one. But anyway, the fact that they still kind of get away with it in the end in the original was very scandalous because they're technically thieves, and according to the Hays Code, they still should get some kind of comeuppance. They should have gotten arrested or killed at the end. So it was still kind of that the people bought into it for that reason.
Oh.
So anyways, so obviously this one, very different. Benedict's an asshole. So we root for that the whole movie.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't, it does make you think like, oh man, are they the baddies?
But I guess, the whole thing is morally gray, right? Like,
No.
sort of?
No, the movie doesn't put it that way.
No,
at most,
I guess no.
At most, it like plays with it with Tess, where she's like, "You're a thief," but she doesn't care by the end.
No.
It's her hubby.
Thief. Liar.
Right? Yeah, tries to be cute.
Cutesy.
It's cute enough. It's good enough. That's the thing. Is like I don't know. As we've talked about it, I came into this kind of expecting like it's a good movie. It's very surface level, but you've watched it 1,000 times. Maybe that's all it is. But you have convinced me a bit that there's a depth to it.
I just love it so much.
It's fun. It's deeper than I think it is, and I think that does just come a lot out of the performances. The relationships are solid if understated, but I think that's a good thing. It doesn't. Again,
I don't like I hate a relationship that tells me that it's a relationship.
Exactly. Well, that's this whole movie. This whole movie does tell you things, but it shows you way more.
I love it. I love when your actions speak louder than your words. I love it.
Yeah, and that's this does that. It does it.
By the way, for clarification, that was for the collective you. That wasn't for you specifically.
My actions should be minimized. I should take less actions.
Help.
I should probably also speak less words.
Sometimes.
You know what? I guess we'll end it on this. Good movie. Great movie.
Kind of timeless. Kind of classic.
Again, timeless. A modern classic.
Modern classic.
An absolute modern classic. Probably way better than the 60s one we'll never watch. Or if we do, it'll be like 100 episodes in. We're not in a rush to get to it at all. But we will get to Ocean's 12
next time.
In our next episode, introducing Catherine Zeta-Jones and a whole host of other characters. Bruce Willis shows up. Yep. He was supposed to be in this one. Is another thing I was reading. That he was supposed to be, is that they kind of wanted him to be Danny. He couldn't do it, which I think is a good thing.
Well, somebody else was supposed to be Linus. Yeah. Johnny Depp.
Oh, I would have hated that too.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
He's a weird dude.
Yeah.
Like Matt Damon's a guy. Linus is just a guy.
He's just a kid.
I'm
just a kid.
Life is a copyright.
Honestly, for real though, this whole thing is that your boyfriend's a bitch.
Your boyfriend's a bitch. Fuck Benedict.
Shit.
He ain't shit. But he's coming back in the second movie. I like the way they bring him back in the second movie. They do it. I think the plot of the people don't like 12.
Why?
From what I've read, that's the least. That's the one people like the least. And we'll get into it more next time.
I guess because it's not a standalone. Because 13's kind of standalone. 11's definitely standalone.
Exactly. The premise of 12 hinges on 11.
That's fair.
So we'll get into it. But great movie. Big recommend for Ocean's 11. Timeless modern classic. And of course.
And if you're into dudes, great eye candy the whole time.
True. Yep.
If you're not into dudes, you got Julia Roberts, I guess.
For a couple scenes, and otherwise it's got. You know what I'll say?
No, but if you're not into dudes, you get a good friendship.
Last thing I'll say, and a good way to describe this movie: competency porn, which is when you love watching people who are good at stuff do the stuff they're good at.
I'm giving you such weird eyes right now because. Oof.
Is that term blowing your mind?
A little bit, yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's like, it's so satisfying because typically you see like conflict and you have just other people overcoming stuff. This one's
the man versus man versus
blah, blah,
God,
blah,
man
blah.
versus
It's just
nature.
conflict. That's how it works. This one, they have a couple, like we said, they have a couple kind of manufactured obstacles in the road. But otherwise, very fun to just watch good criminals pull this off. They're good at what they do, and they do it.
Not even good criminals, just good folks that are good at their job.
That's what I mean. Like they're nailing. They get away with it. It's fun to watch.
We could use a lot more of those in the world.
Sure, good people that are good at the job, not criminals.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. My bad. I read a lot of books.
You're gonna get us into Barney Rubble.
Barney Rubble.
Trouble. On that note,
maybe that's the title of the episode.
Barney Rubble. Trouble. Anyway, I've been Garrett.
I've been Ashley.
This is the podcast of critics, and we will see you next time with Ocean's 12.